Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vijana Bhagava Girivarada Vijana Bhagava Girivarada Jasodanandana Raja Janarandana Jasodanandana Raja Janarandana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jasodanandana Raja Janarandana Jasodanandana Raja Janarandana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Good morning, devotees. Srimad Dhruva Maharaj Das asked me to give class in his stead, as he mentioned that he was gonna be working all night, something like that. I think they're installing the air conditioning and the heating in the welcome center, so he's supervising the operation, and a couple other 100 things that he's doing. So let's begin. Today is Srimad Bhagavatam 4:25-26. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nasta Praye Savadrishu Nityam Bhavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So we're reading from the fourth canto. Some interesting sections which are puzzling to most of us. And this is non-different. This is when Narada Muni starts telling allegories to a king, and we are left scratching our heads. Katvam kunja palashakshi kasyasta kuta sati imamupa purim viru kim chikir shashi samsame. Even the meter seems bewildering today. Kahu tvam you, kanja palasa, like the petals of the lotus, akshi eyes, kasya, whose, asi you are, iha here, kuta, where from, sati, or chaste one, imam, this, upa, near, purim, city, bhiru, or timid one, kim, what, chikir shashi, you're trying to do, shamsa, kindly explain, may, unto me, translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. My dear lotus-eyed, this is King Puranjana speaking to an unknown woman. My dear lotus-eyed, kindly explain to me where you're coming from, who you are, and whose daughter you are. You appear very chaste. What is the purpose of your coming here? What are you trying to do? Please explain all these things to me. In the purport, Prabhupada says, the first aphorism in the Vedanta Sutra is Atatu Brahma Jigyasa. In the human form of life, one should put many questions to himself and to his intelligence. In the various forms of life lower than human life, the intelligence does not go beyond the range of life's primary necessities, namely eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Dogs, cats, and tigers are always busy trying to find something to eat or a place to sleep, or trying to defend and have sexual intercourse successfully. In the human form of life, however, one should be intelligent enough to ask what he is, why he has come into the world, what his duty is, who is the supreme controller, what is the difference between dull matter and the living entity, etc. There are so many questions, and the person who is actually intelligent should simply inquire about the supreme source of everything, a Tattva Brahma Jigyasa. A living entity is always connected with a certain amount of intelligence, but in the human form of life, the living entity must inquire about his spiritual identity. This is real human intelligence. It is said that one who is simply conscious of a body is no better than an animal, even though he be in the human form. In Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Shri Krishna said, Sarvasya chaham ridi sani vishtu mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. In the animal form, the living entity is completely forgetful of his relationship with God. This is called apohanam, or forgetfulness. In the human form of life, however, consciousness is more greatly developed, and consequently, the human being has a chance to understand his relationship with God. In the human form, one should utilize his intelligence by asking all these questions, just as Purandana, the living entity, is asking the unknown girl where she has come from, what her business is, why she is present, etc. These are inquiries about Atma Tattva, self-realization. The conclusion is that unless a living entity is inquisitive about self-realization, he is nothing but an animal. Omagyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurumilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ukam Karoti Chalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram. I want to offer my obeisances to all the devotees as well. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaya patitanam pavanavyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. I will give you a little glimpse of our home deities here, Shri Radha Govinda and company. Hopefully they will give me some inspiration to talk to all of you today. The verse again, my dear lotus-eyed, kindly explain to me where you're coming from, who you are, and whose daughter you are. You appear very chaste. What is the purpose of your coming here? What are you trying to do? Please explain all these things to me. This so-called woman is simply a representation in this particular allegory of the goal of life. What's the goal of human life? It is a fact that I'm going to close the window because it's going to give too much reflection. It is a fact that we were blessed in one way or another, but in particular because Prabhupada chose to follow the order of his spiritual master. It took him a while, took him several decades to actually come to the West, and he wasn't very encouraged by the response of but what he saw. You can imagine a sadhu of his stature living in Vrindavan, in the holiest of holy places, and Jiva Goswami's deities, personal deities, and Rupa Goswami Samadhi, and a few other Samadhis as well. This is probably as high up as a neighborhood as you can achieve. And he decided to come and teach us about everything. It is a fact that we didn't know. If it wasn't for Prabhupada, we probably wouldn't even know about cumin seeds. Definitely wouldn't know how to clean ourselves. What to speak of philosophy? We will be wandering aimlessly through life. Even if we ask the right questions, who am I? Where do I come from? Why do I have to die? Is there justice in the world? Is there a God? How do we connect with him? What do we have in common? Etc., etc. Those questions will not be answered with precision and depth. So Prabhupada came to deliver us, all of us, generation after generation. So we are very fortunate in that sense that our intelligence can be used to achieve a higher status, which is to understand the soul and to understand God, at least a fractionary understanding. We may continue to do this eternally. As Krishna continues to expand himself, he doesn't know his own limits. He doesn't understand himself fully because he's always expanding. We are tagging along and trying to understand more and more. But the ultimate goal is to love Krishna, because the closest associates to Krishna, they also don't know him. They don't know anything about God. They know something, but they don't even suspect that Krishna is God. When Krishna lifts a mountain, they think is wonderful. When Krishna kills an enormous demon, they think is wonderful. They love him more. They don't care to calculate. Wait a second. He's 7 years old and a few feet tall, and there is a mountain that is miles wide. How can he do that? So there's no logic. It's just Krishna's love is the logic, all the logic they need. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada here says that the first aphorism in Vedanta Sutra is Tato Brahma Jigyasa. One has to understand what's all about. And this has to go directly to our intelligence, and we have to discern what is real and what is false, what's the soul, what's the body, what's the mind, intelligence, all these different energies working together. They seem to be confusing at times. Which one is it? An example I used in the past was that of a heavy smoker that needs to it's easy to see the division that he is accosted by the mind and the senses because he has an addiction to nicotine, therefore. And it's not just the nicotine, it's the whole act of, I don't know how that's possible, but cigarettes will relax him. So he's in some place in Canada and wakes up in the middle of the night while there is a horrible snowstorm, a blizzard, and his senses and mind are telling him, just go get me some cigarettes. And so he gets up 2 a.m. to smoke a cigarette, and then he finds out that he doesn't have any left, not even cigarette butts, nothing. So the mind keeps torturing him. Just go ahead, connect the second battery to the car so you can get it started because it's freezing outside, and shovel snow, several feet of snow, so you can get your car out. And even before the roads are clean, because it's too early, he needs to look around for a place where it's open all night and they sell cigarettes, and hopefully the brand that he's so passionate about. But the intelligence, even in a person as unfortunate and degraded as such, the intelligence is saying, hang on. Smoking is bad for you, you know that. And it's the middle of the night, it's minus 30 degrees. There's snow galore. You will have to just work like anything just to get the car out, and you don't know if you may crash. You may not find any place where they have cigarettes, and certainly won't have your brand. And what you should do is just go back to sleep, and you will forget about it. Well, that's good advice. That's the intelligence. But no, the mind doesn't want to hear about it. Mind is saying, no, go get ready. Just shovel snow, put several layers on you, and give me some cigarettes. So who is the witness of all this? The false ego is totally identifying. He has to choose. Am I choosing the mind or the intelligence? And because of bad habits, because of not being used to control his senses, he chooses the mind. So the soul, the person, is a witness of these exchanges between the different energies and is unable to do anything because intelligence is applied for lower things like eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So this is, the sense gratification is threatened. That's it. That's all you need to know. DEFCON 4. Get mobilized. This is not going to be good, because if he dares not to go out and get cigarettes, then the mind will double its efforts to torture this person. So there's one way how we can see that this is actually very painful to deal. We may have smaller concerns. Our sense gratification may be not as degraded as wanting cigarettes in the middle of a blizzard, but we're also making little schemes to get my sense gratification. Yeah, just I go to the prasadam hall and make sure to get early and elbow my way to the front, even though there are women and elderly people waiting in line. No, just let me get ahead of them and eat, because I need to satisfy my senses. So in the name of prasadam, we just mess it up again. So we may have these habits that they appear to be devotional, but they have very little devotion in it. I want to get ahead. I want to take advantage. I don't want to share. This is all mine. It's all for my enjoyment. So the intelligence should be applied, that we need to raise ourselves above the modes of nature, because there is no escape. You can see people are trapped. This is what the material world is about. It's a prison. It's a subtle prison. There are no bars. There are no guards, apparently. But there is Durga. Durga, you can't move. That's the meaning of Durga. So we are in a sort of a Norwegian type of prison where you can grow your own food and just read books and watch TV and everything else. But it's a prison. It's a prison. And instead of a fence, we have old age, disease, and death. So once I gave a lecture in LA to the Mantra House, very nice program. The second generation and young devotees, they set up this regular neighborhood house and invite people for a lecture and kirtan and prasadam, nicely cooked. There's a devotee, Atulya Krishna, a disciple of Vaisheshika Prabhu, who's a chef, and she makes excellent, or used to make excellent vegan prasadam. So people pay, I don't know, it was like $5 or $7, and they came to listen to someone like me rant. So I actually titled the lecture something like how could the world be a nice place if nobody gets out alive? Something to that effect. So I gave him a rundown, and this is a very young crowd. Of course, I was young once, a long time ago. So I do remember what happened. So many years went by. And now all of a sudden, I am in the last third, fourth of my life where death is imminent, can come anytime. Well, death can come anytime to anyone. Like when Prabhupada was interviewed by a young reporter and was asked, what's going to happen when you leave, when you're gone, what's going to happen to your movement now? And the person said, now that you're older, and what's going to happen to the movement once you leave? And Prabhupada asked the reporter, what old? What is old? What do you mean by old? And the reporter was startled. Usually the reporter asks questions, not answer questions. So Prabhupada asked, what is old age? And the reporter said, it was startled, couldn't say anything. So Prabhupada said, old age means close to death. So how do you know that I'm going to die before you do? So that was, well, in general, young people don't die before old people do. But in this world, you never know. Things are topsy-turvy. But I was not confronting, but facing a crowd that were in their teens and 20s. So they had, they weren't thinking about, I'm gonna die. Not soon anyway. But we could, all of us. We don't know. We don't know when death is going to come and strike us. So these questions, these pertinent questions, who am I? Who is God? What's the relationship between the two? And how to achieve the highest goal of life? How to be satisfied once and for all? We've been trying everything since time immemorial in different forms of life, in different families, in different countries. It didn't work out well. Well, now we are giving it a good shot. We try to adhere to the practice of bhakti, because bhakti is the only relief. And everything else is scratching, and the itch will come back. So bhakti is a real solution, because it's who we are. We're lovers of God. Krishna and us have very deep intrinsic relationship eternally, and that's what we have to recultivate. It's not that we don't have it and have to get a new one. It's that we need to revive it. It's dormant. So let's delve a little deeper into the purport of Srila Prabhupada. In various forms of life and human life, intelligence does not go beyond the range of life's primary necessities, namely eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. It is a fact that everybody has spiritual moments, and they try to get some kind of peaceful understanding of their situation, but they don't go further than that. Maybe things have changed, but I don't think so. The ruling feeling of this world is anxiety. That's why this world is called Kunta, and the spiritual world Vaikunta, without anxiety. So because of the perhaps anxiety that we suffer, we try to seek some kind of relief, some form of palliative care for our terminal disease, which is anxiety and then death. So everybody's running away. By what they're doing, they're trying to prolong their enjoyment, because enjoyment makes them forget their temporary existence, thinking that they are their bodies. So we take shelter of food or sex or fighting, whatever people enjoy. This is meant for animal life. Animals are better equipped for any of those activities. You can't fight a warthog or a tiger or a bear or a gorilla. You can't. Even a chimpanzee will smack you and can kill you. It's much smaller than a human and much stronger with more ability. So we are not really meant for fighting. Is, animals do it better. Sex, animals do it better. They do it in public, unrestrictedly, many times a day, but no care. They have no regards for if they're having sex with relatives or not. It's not a problem. And eating, we get sophisticated and pay a lot of money to eat I've heard of restaurants that they're completely dark and you don't know what you're eating, what you're getting, and you pay a lot of money to do this. It's like a incredible sensory experience. This is just a sophistication of a primary instinct, which is eating. The animals are satisfied with any dogs eat scraps, eat anything, whatever, and they don't care if it is in stainless steel plates, straight from Loy Bazaar or China, made specially for them, or out of a garbage can. It's all the same. So they do have an advantage, no discrimination. And sleeping. Just like yesterday, we had a meet and greet with a group of people, all coming from New York City, from New Jersey, from Baltimore, from Boston. And my only comment was that, watch out, because you're coming to a place that is totally quiet. There is no traffic. There is no noise. So you may have a hard time sleeping. And when you sleep really well, but there is no noise. In Los Angeles, where Divya and I worked for many years, at least half a week we spent it there. The helicopters looking for criminals kept you awake. Sirens, and all the noise was always present. There was always traffic. I think I said this. She was taking a seminar, so we had to stay in a hotel downtown LA somewhere, and I got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I looked outside. We were on the 14th floor, and I saw one of the freeways in LA, there are many of them, completely packed. Packed. They were going fast, but it was packed. Cars everywhere, both sides. And that was like 2:30 in the morning. Where were they going? That's not life. That's not life. They weren't sleeping when they were supposed to be sleeping. So animals do the sleeping a lot better than humans do it. They sleep anywhere. Ask a cat. The cat will fall asleep anywhere and then wake up and then go back to sleep. We are just tossing and turning at night, the time that we're supposed to be sleeping, and we cannot even get sleep because our mind is reeling with things, even silly things of the day, not important projects. I have a deadline tomorrow to finish something that is crucial for the future of humanity. No, just some silly stuff. So we are not equipped. These basic activities we do have in common with the animals, but the animals have a serious advantage that they don't have remorse. The tiger is eating a zebra, not thinking about the zebra's family, couldn't care less. There is no picketing in the animal world. Everybody does what they do best and they don't care about anybody else. There's selfishness is rampant in the animal world. There may be a little bit of cooperation, like when the baby elephant is attacked by a lion, all the elephants gather and try to protect it. There is that feeling of community, let's call, but there is very little else. Everything else is just selfishness. So we have to raise above this. This is just for the animals, not for us. Human beings are supposed to support and help each other in the path, in the march back to Godhead, where we belong. We don't belong here. Living entity is always connected with a certain amount of intelligence, but in the human form of life, the living entity must inquire about his spiritual intelligence. So this is fundamental. All humans should inquire about spiritual life. And according to the amount of sukriti, piety that they have, according to their good fortune, they may have met devotees and have the opportunity for higher understanding. They should practice some sort of self-realization. And of course, some are not ready to go all the way. So we can support them. If someone is practicing Christianity or Islam or Judaism or the many branches that religion has, at least we should encourage them within their tradition, because they may not be able to extrapolate and see that God is the same for every religion. It's just that Krishna is doing business as someone else. So not because he is limited, but because we are very provincial in our understanding, and our amplitude doesn't reach the idea of a supreme personality of Godhead. So we have to take a lesser form, let's say, and not in a pejorative way, just like Vishnu is a lesser form of Krishna. So we should encourage them in their path, make sure that they follow at least some decent level of morality and ethics, and that they chant the names of God in their own tradition, because that instruction is there. Pretty much every scripture talks about the names of God. And Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham ridi sanivishtu mataganam smriti rapohanam cha. Apohanam is very important. Apohanam makes a person progress, helps progress, because we have lived many lives in different families, had many traumatic experiences, and if we were unable to forget these things, we will never make any progress. Imagine nowadays where people are completely, they're slowed down by the traumatic experiences of one lifetime. They have a hard time concentrating, they have anxiety disorders, and they have social disorders. So these things are just the product of one lifetime of different experiences. Imagine if you could remember the last 100,000 lifetimes when you were a zebra and a lion was jumping on you, when you were a woman and you were attacked or raped, when you were a frustrated person suffering all sorts of family problems, when you went bankrupt and had to eat garbage from the streets, when you were anything, all the trauma, when your parents used to beat you, when your husband used to beat you, when your wife used to beat you, when everybody screamed at you, when your children turned against you. This is, just lifetimes and lifetimes of trouble. When you were sick and in agony and dying of this or dying of that, this is a horrible plethora of experiences that you do not want to remember. So people who want to remember their past lives is a double-edged sword, because you may remember things that you don't want to remember. So Krishna gives you apohanam, forgetfulness. So you have to deal only with one lifetime of trouble. And there's some amount of enjoyment, but you can always get more. So we should shoot for the highest enjoyment, and that is in relationships. And the only enjoyment that is fully satisfying is the relationship with Krishna, because we cannot get everything from one person. We have to get a little bit from this person, a little bit from that person, but Krishna can give us everything. And we have enough of a capacity to love that we can expand it unlimitedly, and only Krishna is able to receive that sort of exchange. And then knowledge and remembrance. We have to remember. We remember all sorts of things, but by Krishna's mercy, we can remember him. And knowledge, it develops with the practice of bhakti, everything comes. So this is by the practice of bhakti, knowledge comes automatically, liberation comes automatically. Of course, it's good to stimulate it. It's not like you chant Hare Krishna and you expect to know everything that you need to know. It's good to study the books. It's good to engage in Krishna Katha. It's good to hear from others. But knowledge, that knowledge of how to get closer to Krishna, comes automatically out of his mercy if one does the right thing. Prabhupada concludes by saying that unless a living entity is inquisitive about self-realization, he is nothing but an animal. It's a painful truth, but it is a truth that those who are just not engaged in self-realization, they don't deserve to have a human body. The human body is meant for self-realization. So why is that person having a human body if he's not using it properly? It's like having a policeman is given a badge and he's given a gun, and there's a crime in progress, and he's just, even though he's witnessing, he's just texting his girlfriend or something. This person doesn't deserve to have the uniform, the badge, the gun, the power. No, this should be taken away. A uniformed policeman is witnessing a crime and doing nothing about it, who will be demoted. There will be an inquisition of sort, and he will be probably kicked out of his job. So we have, as inhabiting a human body, the duty of inquiring about self-realization, understanding who we are, who God is, and how to achieve this relationship, which is all fulfilling. And if we don't, then we'll be demoted to the animal kingdom, where animals don't have to worry about that. They just have to worry about when is the next meal coming, and who should I meet with. So we are very lucky, very fortunate that Prabhupada came to the West to take care of us. And now we have to reciprocate by telling others, by trying to, it's not that we have to convert the entire world, but we have actually give the chance to people to understand themselves. And this is, in Krishna consciousness, this is a very susukam kartum avyayam. It's a very pleasant way to do it. So why not? Just give them a choice. This is a very pleasant way to practice self-realization. Please take it up. You will get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya if you do. And you will be happy by giving it to others too. So this is how we expand our family. We want, and Krishna is very fond, most fond, according to the Bhagavad Gita, of those who teach the glories of Krishna consciousness to others. If you tell someone about Krishna, Krishna is very interested in what you're doing. And if you tell someone about yourself, not so interested. So as we tell people about Krishna consciousness, we will get promoted. We will get inspiration. We'll get realizations. We will actually get bonus points for our ticket back home, back to Godhead. Okay. I think this is a good time to stop. If any of you devotees have any comments to share, I'm all ears. Anyone? Okay. Well, I see Yasudev has a question, although I'm sure he knows the answer to. How can we encourage a new person to be sincere in Krishna consciousness, I guess? A new person. Someone who doesn't know very much about Krishna consciousness. Well, there are different ways. Krishna is within their heart. So there will be plenty of reciprocation. We probably remember when we started practicing Krishna consciousness, how everything was new and wonderful, and it felt right. Yes, I should have been doing this all my life. So the encouragement really comes from Krishna. One mistake, if I can call it like that, that we make with new people is to expect too much from them and try to jumpstart them, even though they're not quite ready. So we should go at their pace. We should be attentive to their status. How are they developing? Because yes, Krishna consciousness, one size fits all, but people have different histories. They actually come from different backgrounds. They have different traumatic experiences that may turn to be impediments or stumbling blocks. And they want to be heard. They want to be loved. They want everything. And sometimes you have to give them what they need in order to get them to cross over that barrier, that holding back part of us that doesn't want to trust. I've been burned before. My heart has been broken before. How can I know that Krishna's not going to break my heart too, and the devotees are going to leave me behind because I don't know, I fall by the side, or I stop chanting all my rounds, or I had a fall down, etc., etc. So we should meet people where they're at and try to encourage them gradually. Of course, if someone wants to go fast, there is no impediment, but we should give them what they can handle. I would say that's probably proper advice. You can't give them too much. You could try, but it may not work. It may be too overwhelming. Just like if someone is holding a cup because they're thirsty, and the cup is 8 ounces, 10 ounces, 12 ounces, and you just get a bucket of water and just pour it, it's going to go all over the place. They can only drink 8 ounces because that's the size of the cup they have at the moment. Maybe later they get a big jug and they can handle more. So I would say someone is ready for more, give them more. Someone is not ready, try to encourage them and tell them they're doing okay. But they should see that there is a lot more, that they haven't achieved the full self-realization. And this is very common with a new person. A new person will think, oh, I've made so much progress, I'm making so much advancement. I thought when I heard that the goal of life was to become a pure devotee, I thought when I met the devotees, I thought it will take me at least a month to become a pure devotee, because it seemed somewhat complicated, but a month, come on, give it a month, you become a pure devotee. No, I was so wrong. So it's very common among new people to have a lot of enthusiasm and very few practical ideas. So that's my advice, Prabhu. You give a person what they can take and be satisfied with that, because they can't take anymore. Your stomach is of a certain size. If you're not overeat, you're going to get sick. So if you give them too much, they're going to be discouraged by the amount they cannot carry. All right. I hope that answered at least partially, your question. And Queenie has a question. What are the symptoms of a new person being sincere in Krishna consciousness? As far as I understand, being sincere means that you try to please Krishna's senses, but usually does a new person have the sense of pleasing Krishna's senses? Sincere, what is sincerity? Sincerity, I think, means to admit where you're at, that you are not at the end of a very long road, and you're honest about it. You don't pretend to be someone else, you don't pretend to be something else. You just accept your role, you accept your situation, you accept your level, that you're not the God's gift to mankind. You're not the most intelligent person. You're not the most beautiful person. You're not any of that. You're not even the most fallen. A disciple of Prabhupada came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen. And Prabhupada said, you're not the most anything, not even the most fallen. So we have to accept whatever role we have, whatever situation we have, and work from there. Just be honest about it. So duplicitousness does have no room in Krishna consciousness. That you have the Clark Kent Superman identity. You have a double identity, that you are, during the day, you are a pure devotee, and when you're alone, you know who you are. It shouldn't work. You should actually be content to be in the association of devotees. And as far as a new person, well, I may have a revelation here. We are all new persons in Krishna consciousness. No matter how advanced you think you are, you're a new person. You're just learning the ropes. We're all very much infants in our infancy in self-realization. So we should accept that and take shelter of the more advanced devotees, so we can also become like them eventually. But we are all very neophyte. We understand very little. How often do you have a stunning realization about Krishna consciousness? In my case, maybe every 2-3 years, I get one realization. I tell you one. I had it maybe 2-3 years ago, and I still hold dear to it, because they don't come easy, for me at least. I had the realization that Krishna is as he is the supreme and the most of everything, he is the one who has the least amount of false ego, which is nothing, none. Because only a person who is non-envious, has no false ego, not envious of anybody, not jealous of anybody, will actually expand as someone better himself, like Krishna did expand as Srimati Radharani, who by all accounts is better than him. So much so that he had to take birth as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to experience what she experiences, which he lacked. This is somewhat of an esoteric approach, but this is it. We have the best God. Nobody can compare. We have the best candidate for God, and fortunately is perennial. This it's not going to end. In 4 years, we're going to have another God. No, Krishna is there. He's the best. He's always been the best. He always will be the best. And we should just aspire to get a glimpse of his lotus feet by dint of service and by getting along with all those who are actually engaged in the same process. I'm not sure I answered your question, but that's all I had. All right, it's 7:59, time to greet the deities, time to do our own, continue with our own practices, chant the holy name, offer food, read, be kind to others, and thank Krishna for keeping us in the association of devotees. Jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Thank you very much. And apologies to Dhruva Maharaj Prabhu. I'm sure he could have done a much better job. Hare Krishna.